Kevin, do you think that this is a step far too far from Gary Lineker? Good afternoon.
Hello, Vanessa. I think it's extraordinary, and I think the BBC's making a fool of itself, because how many times have we seen this situation? Oh, we will be talking to Gary about this. We'll talk to Gary about this. We'll talk to Gary about this. And this today is probably his worst ever flagrant abuse of BBC impartiality, you know, comparing the Tory migrant plan to Hitler's Nazi Germany. What's the BBC's response? We will be talking to him. Well, I don't like calling for anyone to be sacked, and I want to go on record now and say I'm not calling for Gary Lineker to be fired, because I don't like doing that. That's none of my business. But I think the BBC has got to look within its dark soul and work out whether it's going to let this guy carry on like this. We know that the BBC has to be impartial. I've always thought that impartiality in journalism is deeply overrated. As you know, Vanessa, on talkTV, we're allowed to say what we think, and if people don't agree with us, they can tell us, and that's called, spirited debate. That's fine. However, the BBC is different, because we, the public, pay for it, and we have a right to expect that organisation that we fund to be impartial and to give us an unbalanced view of the world and world affairs. Gary, all the other presenters, you included during your fine reign at the state broadcaster, Vanessa, had to fall in with these rules. So the basic question is, just to crystallise it and bring it down to a microcosm of the problem, it's this: why is the BBC's chief news broadcaster, Hugh Edwards, absolutely banned from publicising or tweeting or writing about his own political opinions, when the BBC's chief sports writer or sports broadcaster is not? Why is he allowed to do this? The BBC, I'm afraid, this time, if it doesn't want to look utterly ridiculous, is going to have to do more than just talk to Gary Lineker, because in the past, Tim Davie, the Director General, other executives have said, no, we have to remain studiously impartial. How many more times are they going to allow Gary Lineker to drive a truck through that very important rule?
Well, you might remember from your days as a journalist, your distinguished reign, yours has been very distinguished indeed as a journalist, when it used to be alleged, now you may not want to confirm or deny this, or you may be happy to, but it used to be alleged that various celebrities, among them Gary Lineker, were so beloved by the public, so adored, so revered, so esteemed, that it would be poor for a newspaper's sales were that newspaper to publish anything that might be seen to be derogatory about such beloved celebrities, including Gary Lineker. And so it was felt by some, now you may say it's not true, you may say it is true, you may say you don't know, but it was felt by some that people with that kind of level of worship among the public almost had a hall pass, really, to do anything at all in their private lives or anywhere else, because they were so adored, newspapers would not want to put a front-page headline, or indeed any kind of headline about them in the paper that was anything but worshipful, because it wouldn't be good for sales. So some celebrities, stars, sporting heroes, could do absolutely anything. They could bestride the world like a colossus in whatever position they liked, with whichever partner they liked, maybe one that possibly they weren't married to and they were married to somebody else, just saying. And it would never be reported, because it would be against the interests of the paper or the media to report that kind of thing. So I wonder, A, whether you think that's true, and B, whether it could be that Gary Lineker is so popular on the BBC, he is so esteemed, he is so beloved, he does good business, he earns 1.35 million and he's worth every penny. And so Tim Davie, over a delicious lunch, might say, Gary, old chap, maybe just, hang fire with the sort of Nazi-type comments, if you please. And Gary, chewing on a delightful fresh avocado, might say, all right, Tim, I'll think about it. And they carry on having a delicious lunch because everyone loves Gary Lineker and he's good value for the BBC. And he's never going to be made to walk the plank, whatever he writes or does.
Well, that conversation has been had between Gary Lineker and Tim Davie, the Director General, quite a few times. Tim Davie has revealed this. Yes, I've spoken to Gary about this. Yes, Gary does understand he crossed the line this time. He will try not to in future. Gary Lineker completely ignores these conversations. time and time again. As to the other suggestion you were making about newspapers making judgments about popular celebrities that they don't want to sort of put in a bad light because it won't be good for their circulation, well, that's utterly true. Of course, every newspaper, every day, in every way, makes editorial judgments about what they want to publish and what they don't want to publish. And sometimes, I've done it myself, there'll be some wildly popular celebrity, maybe like yourself, Vanessa, who I actually personally know and I happen to like, and I think, well, there's two things about this. This person is not a bad person, and if I put it in the paper, our readers are unlikely to like it because they like this person. So yes, you do make that judgment. But whether or not Gary Lineker is in that position, I think is a very dubious proposition. He certainly is not. Look at the papers today. But I do, what is interesting about his position and the turmoil he finds himself in today, and why I suspect ludicrously he'll survive completely unscathed, because he always does, is because he is a damn good broadcaster. By the way, a nice guy as well.
Yeah, very nice guy, sure. Absolutely.
I don't believe in his political outlook. I couldn't disagree with him more, but he's entitled to have it. But he's not entitled as a BBC presenter to be quite so public about it. But that's the conundrum for the BBC. If they get rid of Gary Lineker, who is their new sports presenter? Who is their new football supremo? Because he's damn good at that job. And I suspect that that's why he survives time and time again. But this time, I think they're going to have to think very seriously about it. I don't think he's going to get fired this time, but I suspect that the BBC are going to say, okay, this is it. One more tweet like this and you will go. And here's one other element to this story that intrigues me. I have a slight feeling that Gary Lineker, with his student-like Guardian views that he's so proud of, oh, I hate Brexit, oh, save the migrants, aren't I wonderful, all that nonsense. I have a feeling that he'd quite like to get fired. He's got plenty in the bank. He doesn't need any money anymore in his life. He's got enough money for the rest of his life. If he got fired, he'd be a martyr to his cherished cause, and he'd quite like that.